It's hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Willpower Podcast. I'm happy that you're here. Today I have a very special guest. His name's Peter Townsend. He comes from Ireland, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, a little the west side of Ireland on the Atlantic coast.
On the Atlantic coast of Ireland. Beautiful. So Peter, it's a privilege to have you here today. I've been following you for a month or so. Your story is just absolutely fascinating. Listening to your podcast on Big News Coming Soon, I think that was called.
Big news coming soon, yeah.
Big News Coming Soon. Yeah. So I listened to your podcast and wow, you have a crazy story. I mean, there's so many questions that I have to spring on you. Your life has been a lot of downs and a lot of ups. Where you started to where you are now is just, it's unbelievable. So if you can just tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, that's
and
no
we'll start
problem.
from there.
Listen, I'd have to say as well, look, Will, I've been following your story, and from what you have done, it's inspirational, and the work you've put in to get to where you are now, both physically, mentally, emotionally, is powerful, very powerful. Yeah, so look, my name's Peter Townsend. Today I'm a recovery coach. I wasn't always a recovery coach. I used to be heavily involved in organised crime and criminal activity. I spent 25 years in active addiction, starting with simple substances. Well, I call them simple substances because it brought me. It was cannabis to begin with, which then grew on to ecstasy, as it does over here. It's kind of a trend in Ireland. It went from the ecstasy to speed to cocaine. And as addiction goes, the more I fed it, the worse it got. So I ended up in a place that I never thought I would, a place that I looked down my nose at others at. I ended up addicted to crack cocaine, addicted to heroin, and on crystal meth. And
Wow,
I spent...
that's quite the list of drugs that you listed right there.
Yeah, so there wouldn't be many substances on this planet that I haven't dabbled in, tried, or used in some description. So within that 25 years, out of that, I spent 20 years going in and out of prison systems. I was in 9 different prison systems in 2 different countries. Now, I don't say that as a big up. I used to use that in a past life as a, oh, look at me, I'm this hard man who has been around and he's managed to make it out of these prison systems unscathed and unhurt. Today, I use that to show people that where this can bring you, the hurt, the physical hurt, the emotional hurt, and what it can do. That journey was tough mentally. It was tough physically. That was on myself. But what was worst of all, it was emotionally and spiritually tough on the people who loved me, the people who gave me care, my family members, my parents, and anyone that was within my life who showed me love. They had to watch me go through these systems. They had to watch me destroy my life at my own hands. I've gone through the paper of the prison systems and that. So with my work, I have to get Garda vetted. So it'd be like, I don't know what you'd call it in America. It's kind of like a criminal check, a background check.
Yeah.
So with that, I got this paperwork from the UK, which includes the UK and Ireland, all the prison sentences. And I was kind of shocked and blown away because on paper, it says that I've served 14 and a half years in prison systems, in all different prison systems. Now, looking back on that, I would never have thought that was the case. Man, when I was a young fella smoking a bit of weed or a bit of hash as we had on the streets, I never envisioned that journey, that where it was going to take me. And wow, like it's tough for the head. The last time that I came out of the prison system was in 2019, and I came out broken. I came out like mentally broken. I had a weight on my shoulders that just held me down. I told family members that I'll never end up in a prison system again. I'm not able for it. Mentally, I'm not able for it. I will do something drastic. And I think that could have been the starting point of a seed been planted that this can't go on. Like I can't keep this up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Did you say you went to 9 different prisons?
Yeah, I've been in 9 different prison systems over the space of 2 different countries.
Oh my goodness, that's wild stuff. Can we back up a little bit? Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So like I had a really good childhood, right? So I'm adopted.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm adopted, and I found that out at an early age. Now, what I can tell you here is in retrospect, I have this awareness about my childhood from doing some work on myself and taking things apart and figuring things out. So what I've learned from my inner work and from looking inside my mind and inside my soul is that when I found out that I was adopted, I shut down. I emotionally shut down. I stopped giving love. I stopped trusting people. I stopped anything that was going to give me that outward projection and let people in. I didn't know that as a child. I had no idea that this is what I was doing. I think it was a survival mechanism, a protection mode I went into. And with that, like I have my parents are amazing. I come from what people would call a respectable background. There is no crime, there is no addiction, there is none of that in my family. But yet I still went down that path. Yet I felt like I had to go onto the street and find the love of dangerous people and do things to feel accepted, feel wanted, and not feel rejected. Because that's what I suffered from. I suffered from feelings of rejection, feelings of abandonment, and of unworthiness, and I just no self-esteem, no self-confidence within. Now, when I was on the street, I'd put on a big ego, of course, yeah. Big ego, low self-esteem, very dangerous combination. So I found that out at a young age. I went from that to, like my parents, I had a loving family, you know, but I couldn't accept the love that my parents would give me. Something inside me just wasn't able to accept it. Maybe it wasn't able to believe it since I found out I was adopted. There was possibly something inside my head that always felt that I'm not part of this. This isn't where I belong. This isn't what I'm about. And again, this is only in retrospect. This is the power of looking back and the power of foresight, you know, hindsight. Sorry. So I went onto the streets. I started using cannabis. I started getting involved with, I won't say the wrong crowd because I was part of that wrong crowd. You know, we started doing things that we probably shouldn't be doing at that age. By the time I was 17, I was wrapped up in joyriding, car thefts, criminal activity, drug dealing. I was cross-border criminal activity. I was involved in a lot of stuff. I had a lot of chances from the police. By the time when I got to 18 years of age, the judge had enough of me. The judge says, listen, you've had all the opportunities and chances in the world. And I probably had more chances because of the background I came from. I came from a sturdy, respectable background. Possibly that would have been the case. But when I hit 18, the judge had enough of me. He told me, right, you're going to prison. So I was sent away to my first prison. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to act the big man here. I was terrified until I got in the gates and I was about 2 days in the prison system. I was like, okay, I can adapt. Yeah, I can do this. I can adapt. And I did adapt. And I think I came back up about 2 weeks later. I was on a remand sentence. I came back up about 2 weeks later with a smile on my head thinking I'm Billy Big Balls. And yeah, that's no problem. What have you got next? Throw it at me. I'm ready for this. And he saw that and he says, here, this isn't working, right? So got another idea. I'm going to send you to a bigger prison. So I'm sending you to St. Pat's Institution in Dublin. Now that terrified me because growing up, the stories I heard about this place, the violence, the terror, it was terrifying inside. And I landed up there. And again, the same thing happened. Within about 2 days, I'd settled. It's amazing what the mind can adapt to, what the human body is capable of adapting to. Within 2 days, 2 or 3 days, I found a routine, I settled, and I found my ways. And I got on so well in there, I liked going in and out of there for another 4 years. That's kind of how it went from that, you know, and that continued. And I got out of the system. So from there, I traveled to different prison systems because people got fed up with me. I ended up in an open prison, right, where I had the opportunity to go home at weekends. So you have to wait in this prison system for 4 weeks before you get this release, before you get weekend release. I didn't even make the 4 weeks because I was able to get my hands on substances. So I was in there about 3 weeks.
Prison?
Oh, yeah, in prison. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, every prison I've ever been in, I was able to get my hands on a serious amounts of substances. But this prison in particular, now I won't name it just because it's possibly not the best idea, but it's an open prison within the Irish system. And because it's an open prison, security is a lot more lax, right? So visits are they're not controlled and they're not restricted. So I was able to get substances pretty easily. It was St. Patrick's Day, I think it was in 2003, and I had ecstasy and I took a lot of it. And I went on a rampage, rolling around the prison, thinking everything's all right. You know, you've got your own rooms in there. It's no cells because it's an open prison. It's a lower category security. And I was found wandering the halls with 2 toilet rolls in my hand, thinking that'll save me. You know, I'll pretend I was in the toilet. I was missing for about 6 hours. And the prison officer saw me and I was jaw one side of my face, eyes wired from MDMA, from ecstasy. And I'm wandering down. He's like, where were you? And I was like, oh, I was in the toilet. He's like, will you go here, that? Bang, straight locked up into a padded cell. kept there for a couple of hours and then transported back to Dublin, the other side of the country, to another locked prison, to a more secure prison. Yeah, look, I could tell you numerous amounts of stories like that.
I've done ecstasy before, and I can't even imagine what doing ecstasy in a prison might be like. I mean, I've done it at fun events. What were you doing ecstasy in a prison? I mean, what was that like?
Because listen, well, that wasn't too bad because it was an open situation. So like there was about 6 of us in a room, and we were all having a laugh. We were all buzzing. You know, as I said, the human body and the human mind makes the best of any situation possible. And when you add, I can't speak for the other people, but when you add the likes of myself, who will do anything to take me away from me at that point in time before recovery, I spent 25 years doing my utmost best to take me away from me, not feel me, not be in reality. So if you put ecstasy in the mix, I don't care where I am, I'll take it. I was taken. You know, it was doable. But I will tell you one thing. I've had cocaine in a locked, full maximum security prison, and that is not a nice experience. I used to sniff cocaine in a locked up cell. So if you think about it, you're in a 10 by 12 unit in a cell, and you're itching and you're twitching and you're telling yourself with the anxieties through the roof, and you're telling yourself, I'll never do this again. I'll never do this again. Why did I do this? 4 weeks later, you get your hands on some more cocaine. You're like, oh, I'll have that. You know, it's just the insanity, the delusional thinking, the insanity of the mind. You know what's going to happen. You know what it's doing to yourself, but you can't stop yourself. You don't want to stop yourself. You have no other tools created. Well, I had no other tools created.
I always wondered this. How does drugs get smuggled into prison? Who's doing this?
There's many ways. Right. You think about a human being put into a situation. How resilient and resourceful are we? When we want something, when we need something, we'll go out of our way to do whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
So I can't talk for anyone else, and I won't talk for anyone else. For me, it was over the wall in parcels, and it was on visits. Now, I know of other circumstances and situations when prison officers were bribed. I was never involved in that directly. Okay, so I can't talk about that, nor will I. But for me, it was over the wall in parcels at certain times when there was maybe football on, or when there was a recreation on, or when there was yard on. And then there was visits. We'd organise people to come in on visits and pass over parcels on visits. Some were caught, some got through.
Walk me through that process of going into prison, and then all of a sudden you're seeing the bars being shut on you and you're 18 years old. What is going through your mind?
Fear, to begin with. So I talked to you about going into St. Patrick's Institution for the first time. That's a Victorian-style prison. It's old. It's rough. You have 16 to 21-year-olds in there wanting to make a name for themselves. They're violent. There's a lot going on. You have every category of offender in there. You've from the simple petty crime up to the attempted murder, up to the murder. It's all in there. It's in the one place. And these are all young people, right? So the rumours that I had heard about this place had me terrified. Not terrified enough now to put me off committing crimes to end up there. So when I was going in those gates, I was scared. Could I show that fear? No. I knew I'd be eaten alive, chewed up and spat back out. The first thing is you get put into a holding cell. So you get processed. So at 18 years of age, I'm sitting in a holding cell with a load of other people who've been in and out of the system quite a bit. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to make on, yeah, well, this is my first time, but I don't care. You know, I've got this big bravado bull on. And inside I'm like, please don't figure out that I'm terrified here. Like, you're going to, you know, it's going to be tough. And then you're called out, you're stripped down, all your clothes are taken off you. You're told to hunch down, a mirror's put underneath you to make sure, just to check for security that you're not carrying anything in obvious places. Then you're told to go into a shower, a big line of showers. You're told to go into the shower. Basically, your dignity is stripped from you in a way that tries to make you feel about that big to shut you down so you can be controlled and organised. And that's how it is. Then you're marched through the hall in front of everyone where they've whatever, and you have to, well, I had to look like I didn't care. Look like I didn't have a fear or a care in the world. Shoulders back, head up, looking around, seeing things for the first time, feeling, oh my God, this is where I am. But on the outside going, what, you know? And you find a cell and you don't know who you're going to get locked up with. You don't know you're going to be sharing a cell to begin with. You don't know you're going to be on your own. You don't know where you're going to be. Luckily enough, that first time in, I was on my own. And I can tell you now, when the door closed behind me, I had this, okay, holy shit, right. And
it all gets really real fast, I bet.
Or very, very real, very quickly. You're left in a 10 by 12 or whatever size with your thoughts. That's it, with your fears, with these emotions that you've pushed down to the bottom, to the pit of your stomach, because you know if these are smelt, you're going to be destroyed and you're going to be there for a while. And the last thing you're wanting is to make yourself a target for a period of time that you're in this place. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
What was the scariest moment that you remember when you were in prison?
The scariest moment would have been in a prison system in Scotland called Berlini Prison. It's a very rough, very violent, very volatile prison. There's a wing in that system called A Hall, and A Hall is classed as the dumping ground of the SPS. Now, what that means is the SPS is the Scottish prison system, and the dumping ground is basically where the prisoners that they can't handle, they can't deal with, just get dumped there. You get put there. So I was there, and I was in the showers. I was in the shower block, and someone came in to attack me with a blade. And a friend of mine who saw this happen. Now my back was turned, and I had shampoo in my head, and I didn't know what was going on. All I heard was a crash bang, a wallop, and I turned around, and my friend was on top of a guy who was coming in to slash me out, and he just says, "Leg it, go." So I went. That was the scariest time, more so because of who this person was. This person would have been a large criminal figure, involved very much so in organised crime, coming from a family who ran a big area of Scotland. So that was scary. That was very scary. And the aftermath of that and how to make it better and deal with it, that was scary. Yeah.
So you jumping from prison to prison. How old were you when you finally got out?
So I've been in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So the last time I was in a prison system was in 2019, and I haven't been in there since. And I don't plan on ever going back again, other than to give a talk or to go in and help or to run a meeting or to do some recovery work. That's it.
I still can't get over the 9 prisons. That must be just so terrifying. And I can't even imagine. I just can't even imagine. So when did all of a sudden, 2019 was the last time you were there. So what happened? Like what clicked? Like tell me about the turning point in your life.
So in 2019, I would have been in the prison systems within that from about 2017 to 2019 when I was in there twice. I was in there for, I think, about 18 months and 16 months, sorry. And I would have been heavily using spice. So that's a substance. I don't know if you have it over there. It's a substance over here. It's like a synthetic cannabis. It's very, very heavy duty, and it just zombifies you. It just makes you very dull. But the effects that it has on the mind are severe. It puts you into a state of psychosis very quickly and very easily, and it just shuts everything down. So it shuts your body down and leaves your mind fairly active inside, but active in a very delusional and unhealthy way. I was using a lot of that because with spice, time disappears. You have no concept of time. So when the door closes behind you, sorry.
What is that? Is it a mix of drugs, or is it a hallucinogen? Like
no, so I think, to begin with, I think it was called JW or something like that. It's a synthetic cannabis. It's a derivative of cannabis, but it's created in a laboratory. And we used to have it on paper. So paper used to get sprayed with this, so it would enter the prison system on a letter. And we'd tear little bits of it off and we'd smoke it. And it would destroy time. Time would disappear. And I used a lot of that. And in turn, because I used a lot of that, it had detrimental effects to my mental health, to my mindset, to my body. So when I left the prison, I was still very broken. I was very broken in the mind. I was very paranoid. I was very scared, very anxious, very down. And I just knew that another sentence would never work. I wouldn't make it out alive. I just knew that myself from where I was. But now that didn't stop me to go on and use other substances and get involved in different things from there until I entered recovery. So yeah. I went on a downward spiral of crack cocaine usage and heroin, and that's when the crystal meth came in.
Wow. So was crystal meth, was that your drug of choice?
No, my drug of choice would have been crack cocaine. That would have been would have been cannabis, weed. Like that would have been the biggest drug of choice that would have sat with me from the age of 12, 13 up until 38. That would have been a daily usage. Then after that, the one that my mind could not get enough of was crack cocaine. So I was physically addicted to heroin for about 10 years maybe. And I was, for about 8 to 10 years. And then I was psychologically addicted to crack cocaine for about 5 or 6 years. The crystal meth came into play when someone I was involved with had access to large amounts of it, which then in turn gave me access to it. And I was in such a bad place mentally that I was using that to try and kill myself. So I would be putting crystal meth, crack cocaine and heroin into a pipe, blasting it, and like large amounts, blasting it in the hope that it does something. It just shuts my heart off, it blows it up, and I'm not here anymore. I went through a period of time in 2020. I tried to hang myself off a tree. Obviously, I'm still here today. I'm very, very blessed. So kind of mix it a bit. I'm a big believer that there's a reason I'm here, that I am on a path. There is a reason I'm still alive. I've been shot at. I've had multiple attempts in my life. I've been tortured. I've been kidnapped. I'm still alive. I've been in and out of any prison system you can think of. I've been involved with some of the toughest, roughest people in Europe. I'm still alive. I've owed money to the worst people you can think of. I'm still alive. I tried to hang myself. I'm still alive. There's a reason I'm still alive.
There's a reason.
Yeah. So
there's a reason you're still here.
Yeah. So So by the end of 2021,
I mean,
that's what I was doing. I was taking multiple amounts of benzos, different tablets, and I was smoking anything I could get my hands on in as much quantities as I could, just to fall asleep and never wake up again, because that's where my mind was.
So you were trying to end your life multiple times,
100%.
whether it be drugs, whether it
100%.
be physically. You said you had that suicide attempt.
Yeah.
When you said you tried to, I don't want to keep touching upon a really sensitive
Look, I'm
subject.
very open about my past and my journey. Very open. So in 2020, I got a tow rope. I went up to the golf course and there was a tree, and I sussed out the trees, and there was this tree that I thought was the place. So I wrapped the tow rope around it, created a noose by clicking it onto the rope, put it around my neck, climbed up the tree, and dropped myself. Now, while I was hanging there for about, I don't know how long, I couldn't tell you, I had no concept of time, but I had this innate urge to live. Just that will to live just comes upon you. I can tell you that no matter what mentality I was in, and I started doing this, started doing that, and my leg started kicking out. My right leg hit a stump of a tree branch coming out of the tree. Now, I could swear that this was not there when I lined up that tree to do this. So my right leg kicked it. I managed to push myself a little, got a little tiny bit of grip, and grabbed on. And then from there, I pulled myself up, took it off, dropped down, left that hanging there, and walked. And that was so terrifying and scary for me, that feeling of nearly not being here. That was terrifying. But the only thing that scared me away from was putting in the work to take my own life. From there on in, I tried to use substances. I won't say I was a coward, because I don't think it's cowardly, but I was scared to create severe actions to take my own life. So I would use substances. Substances have always been within my life, and there were things I could mess with. So that's what I tried to use from there on in.
I've heard many stories of people when they try to take their life, that rush of, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? I want to live. Yeah. I can't even imagine what that must have felt like. I'm so happy that it failed and you're still here. So yeah. So I mean, God bless. I mean, this is just a remarkable journey you've been on. Now, lead me up to this person I'm looking at now. Like, when did everything start to turn around for you?
So in 2021, so from 2020, from that attempt up to 2021, my drug usage got severe. Now, so bear in mind, I was heavily involved in the drugs trade. So I had access to a lot of substances, large amounts of substances. But as my journey went through and I was active in the drugs trade, it was noticed that my physical being and my mentality was changing a lot. It was hard not to notice when I was going gaunt in the face and I was dropping out of weight. I was a noticeable heroin addict. And that then created concern within the world I was working in, the world I was involved in. So I was kind of shunned a little and put to the side. I travelled down from one end of England, so one end of the UK, which would have been the top of Scotland, down to the bottom, down to London, to try and escape me. But I took me with me, so it wasn't going to work, was it? So I ended up in London around September 2021, again involved in substances and doing different things. And I just felt broken. So with all the different bits that happened while I was in London, I ended up on the streets with a backpack on my back. Just from the first thing in the morning to the last thing at night, my mission was get heroin, get crack, get crystal, get benzos. Take what you can. Hopefully don't wake up in the morning. Then when I did wake up in the morning, the journey went on. Do that again. That went on for about 6 to 8 weeks. It got so bad, my family, so my mother came over to me in London in November 2021. I was in such a messed up place that I left my mother in the centre of London and disappeared for 24 hours to go and get out of my head, and then came back. And she came over to visit me for my birthday. You know, she was bringing over that love, that care, that compassion. And she could see that I was broken inside, but I didn't care. The only thing I cared about was taking me away from me. I was selfish. I was self-centered, and substances were my ruler. That was it. And I disappeared for 24 hours. That, I think, subconsciously broke me a little more, as much as I continually did take me away from me and used and used and used. I had people who were talking to me, family members, who were like, come on, you need to go into treatment. So come December 21, I realized Christmas is coming. I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know if I can mentally take another Christmas in this lifestyle, doing what I'm doing, or ending up in a prison system. I agreed to go to a treatment centre. I came back to Ireland and I went to a treatment centre. Now, I'm not going to lie to anyone here and tell them that I went to the treatment centre to get well and to get clean and to change my life. Did I? Hell, I didn't. I went to the treatment centre with this delusional thought that if I can get off the substances and give up the alcohol, I'll be a better drug dealer and people will look after me again and I can make money again. That's where I went in. Luckily, about 2 to 3 weeks into this treatment centre, I connected with a man who had a very similar journey to mine. He was working in there. Very similar background, very similar journey in and out of prison systems. He did 11 different treatment centres and he was well, and he was 5 years in recovery and he was shining from the inside out and he looked happy. And I was like, hey, hell man, what's going on? And I had multiple conversations with him, so I knew it wasn't a trick. I knew it wasn't bull. I knew he wasn't trying to put the wool over my eyes. And by about the 4th week, I was like, here, how do I get what you have? I want what you have. I've never had that. I've never had that peace. I've never had that feeling that I'm good enough inside. I've never had that connection with my own self. Like, how do I do that? And he says, oh, God, it's simple. Change every single thing about yourself. And he's like, right.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, that's it. That's as simple as he's like, giving up the drink, giving up the substances. That's all well and good. But you got to do everything that you've never done before. You've got to rip yourself apart inside, go through your mind, get into your subconscious, figure out what makes you tick, what doesn't make you tick, find out what you're interested in, find out what you love, find out why don't you love yourself and work on that to give yourself some self-love. I was like, here, this is terrifying. That sounds like an awful lot of hard work. Is there not something I can take just to give me something like that? You know, that was me. That's where I was. Like, give me that easy fix. I want to get from A to D, but I don't want to go through B and C. Don't want any of that. That's too hard for me.
Yeah.
But I was in there for 8 weeks, and as the weeks went on, I got more and more clear-minded. I got more and more connection with myself. I had group therapy. I had one-on-one therapy, and I was determined. I was determined to give myself the best chance possible. And that was it. And I did. When I came out of the treatment centre, I continued it on a daily basis, just like I do today. I do work on a daily basis.
Yeah. What do you think the hardest drug was to kick for you?
Crack cocaine, without a shadow of a doubt. The hardest. So the heroin had me physically broken, right? And it had me in a place where if I didn't have the substance, I was physically sick. Okay? That's dealable. I can deal with that. Crack cocaine had me psychologically manipulated, destroyed, and broken. I could taste it on the back of my throat when I didn't have it. I could feel it there when I was not taking a puff, when I was breathing in. Within recovery for the first year or so, when I was breathing in, when my mind was in the wrong place, I could feel it. I could taste it. That is by far the toughest substance that I've ever come across.
Wow. I mean, and you've done all of them. So that's wild. So this man that you met in recovery, he pretty much saved your life, so to speak.
100%. Yeah. Whether he likes to take credit for it or admit it or not, I tell him, and I tell him, anytime I see him, anytime I'm talking to him, I'm like, you saved my life. And he's like, no, you put the work in. He's like, no, man, I saw something within your life, within what you've done for yourself that gave me that, I can do this. Oh, and hold on, he was just as bad as me. I can do this. So yeah, he saved my life.
Isn't that so crazy how when you meet those people that you come across when you're at your lowest point, right? And you see in their eyes that there is a way out of this thing, you know, it's like magnetic, you know, that, wow, look at this person. Like here they are, they're sober and they had pretty much very similar background as I did, or, you know, usage of it, things like that. So when did you...
Genuine and authentic. And they're not lying and they're not faking it. And you're not catching them out on some of the bull, you know, it's genuine.
It's and cool. That's the best. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. I tried to, you know, alcohol was my drug and it almost killed me. I would go to AA meetings and things like that. And I never really got that person. A few times I would come across one or two people that had similar backgrounds as I did and was abusing alcohol similarly. I just remember I couldn't connect with anyone. I was looking for that guy that you were looking for, but I couldn't find him. And that's why I think it's so important in recovery to, just because you don't find it right, that person or that spark or, whatever that may be right away, keep trying, because eventually you will run into that guy that you met. And
100%.
all of a sudden, all it takes is seeing someone succeeding in this downward spiral of addiction that you and I have gone through.
Your stories have the power to create serious inspiration. Our stories can save souls. Now, I'd be an advocate of how you share your story. So I have a story that I can go into schools and colleges and share it in a way that the young people would think, oh, that's cool, I want a part of that. Or I have a story that I can share it in a way, be honest with them and tell them how much it broke me, everyone around me, how it made me feel, and how my mind was nearly absolutely destroyed. And in that sharing in that way, they'd be like, oh, wait, okay, hold on a minute. Maybe I'll have a little look at what I'm doing and what I'm mixing and what I'm involved in. Our stories are very powerful.
It's almost one of the most important components of recovery, hearing other people's journeys and hearing their success stories, because the success stories gives us hope, right? So you met this man, you turned your life around. And when did you start thinking that you wanted to be a recovery coach?
It's random, right? So I was about maybe 4 months into recovery, and I was like, right, okay, what's next? I got a thirst and a hunger for self-improvement. I started doing a lot of work internally, and I got a hunger for it. So I went back to education. This is someone who wouldn't have much education. I left school when I was 16. I'd have no formal, proper education, no degrees, no college, no university, nothing like that. And I had about 4 months in recovery. I was like, right, let's look at education. So I did a thing over in Ireland called a PLC. So it's like a level 5. It's basically learning how to learn again. That's kind of what it is. So I did that in social studies. I managed to finish that course with distinctions. So all my modules got distinctions, and I got student of the year. And that gave me this, oh, okay, hold on. I've got a bit of knowledge in here. I can do this. Right. What am I going to do next? So from there, I went on and I did a level 6 certificate in psychotherapy. I smashed that out in the park, thoroughly enjoyed it, loved it. Coming to the end of that, I was like, okay, I was doing a lot of different work with people in recovery and just helping them out. And, as people say, giving it away and things like that. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So I'm a big believer in changing people's perspective, helping people look at things in a different light. Because when we look straight on at something, we're not seeing the whole picture. We're not seeing everything. So I love to try and help people step to the side, look and see, right, okay, that's got a different angle to that. Maybe my opinion and perspective isn't exactly right. Maybe that's from my pre-programming. So I love doing that. So around that time, I started playing with the idea of recovery coaching, started looking into it, didn't do a great deal about it. Then I did a level 8. I started a level 8 degree in psychotherapy. And throughout the degree, I found a crowd called the Recovery Coach Academy who do recovery coach training. Now, they were part of the Connecticut Community Addiction Recovery, so CCAR over in America, which are an amazing group, amazing organization that do serious work over in America and in around their area. So I started connecting in with them, asking them questions, getting involved in different workshops, learning about stuff, and then I did my training with them. Now, while I was doing my training with them, I was also in my first year of the degree for psychotherapy. So I realized then at the end of the first year of the degree, the psychotherapy isn't exactly for me. It's very clinical. It's not exactly, I wanted to help people. I wanted to use my story, my experience, my knowledge, and then get as much training as possible on top to help others walk out of where they are and come out of the darkness. Shine a light for people in the same way that light was shone for me. So I stopped with the degree, the level 8 and the psychotherapy, and I put all my focus into recovery coaching. I did another model of training with another crowd in South Africa. Now, a good model and all, but I didn't align fully with it. But I got a lot of skills from doing that coaching and that training. Then I did, so I've done with the Recovery Coach Academy, I've done my recovery coach training, I've done my spirituality training, I've done my ethical training, and I've done my professionalism training. Then from there, I went on, I've done CBT training,
What's CBT training?
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
and
training in
what's
CBT,
spirituality training?
I've done spirituality training as well, understanding that everyone walks from a different path and that my opinion isn't about, so you're coming in from a religious background, okay? I'm not from a religious background. That doesn't make a difference. It's learning how to put my belief system and my values to one side, accept that person as a person when I'm in a coaching space, and try and help them in that. And if that's what their values and beliefs are, let's roll with that. 100%, let's roll with that. So just learning how that all values, all spirituality is acceptable, and it's how it is. Just because I don't align with it doesn't mean it's wrong. And that's training. That takes a lot of picking apart inside.
Okay, so you get high marks. You're passing all those tests, and then you become this recovery coach. When you first met your first client, how did that feel? I mean, what was going through your mind? Like,
Terrifying. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? Who am I? What can I do? That's
but
like,
you're the best person to be that person. I mean,
but
you have
in that
so
moment,
much.
In that moment, I tell you, it did not feel like that. In that moment, like all the training, all the academics, everything just went, whoosh, and I was like, oh, it was more terrifying than walking into a prison system. That's how it was meeting that first person.
Yeah,
Because,
and did it? I'm sorry. Yeah, keep going.
yeah, no, I had a lot of pressure on myself. That I need to meet their needs. I need to give them the value that this person deserves. And I put so much pressure on myself that I'm sure, I don't know. It was terrifying. That was it. It was terrifying.
Where do you begin with your clients? I'm curious as to, what is that first initial conversation like? Where do you begin?
So an initial conversation, as you said, it's a conversation. So it's just where they are right now. I begin wherever you are right now. So I've named my company Your Pace Recovery because you recover at your pace. My pace is very different to your pace, which is going to be very different to the next person in recovery. Everyone is an individual. I'm very person-centered. So we begin with, right, where are you? Right, what have you got available to you right now? Where are you? Right, there you are. A lot of the times, a lot of the people I work with, they don't have goals because they don't know what they love. They don't know what they like. They don't have passion because they haven't cracked into their passion just yet. So within the first session is all about, like, does this work? Do you gel from me? Do you bounce off me? Does this work? Because if it doesn't work, it's not going to work going forward. There's no point in trying to force it. And if it doesn't work, I'll find someone that I'm involved with that might work for you. And you can try it with them, because there's nothing more special than that relationship. That coaching relationship is extremely special. And when you can have that gelling properly, the world is your oyster. And what a person can do and how they can expand is just unreal. So once we figure out that this energy does work and the to and fro, and there's a bit of trust there to begin with, now it takes another fair while to create a really good trusting space. But it's all about forward focus, about where you are. So what kind of goals have you got? I haven't got a clue. Perfect. At least you know you haven't got a clue. That's somewhere we can start. At least you know what you don't know. We can start there. And then it's like, we just work into what what they're about, what makes them. And then from that, you find, right, what do you like doing? What makes you smile when you're doing it that you don't realize makes you smile? Okay, you like that. Let's write that down per game. Basic, really, really basic. What makes you unhappy when you don't like to do it? I don't like doing the dishes. Right, let's write that down. You're not going to be a dishwasher. Perfect. Down to the side. And just work it from there. Oh, I like drawing. Lovely, you've got creativity on you. Let's write that down. And just ease it out bit by bit. Everyone has the answers to their own shit inside themselves. It just takes a little bit of questioning and niggling and pulling at threads for them to go, oh yeah, I actually love doing that. Like, great. Where can we take this? Where can you take this? What can you do with it? Do you want to do this? For some people, it's just a matter of learning skills to help them sleep at night. Help them when they put their head down on the pillow, that their mind isn't going, just learning some skills to do with that. And then from there on in, a relationship grows and it can go into leaps and bounds and figure things out. Some people just need to vent what's been going on for the week. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I won't go into your trauma. I won't go into your past, but I'll be a safe space to listen, and that's it. So
can you tell me about a client that you've had, obviously not naming names, but someone that you've come across in your coaching experience that maybe you thought there was no hope, or something that was you didn't expect to see, or something like that?
I haven't met anyone that I felt like there is no hope. Because of the path I have walked, everyone has hope.
Yeah, everyone has hope.
No matter how far down the scale, no matter what's happened, everyone has hope. I have one person who I still connect in with, who is an inspiration to me. at what he's done. He came to me after hearing a podcast that I was on and realizing the journey I walked, and he was heavily involved in criminality. He was still stuck in that path, and he didn't want to be there. He didn't know what to do. And he didn't feel like he could go to a therapist and tell the therapist, here, listen, I'm selling drugs left, right, and centre, and I'm involved in money laundering. Like, what'll I do? You know, he thought if he goes to someone like that, they're going to be right. You're going to jail, buddy. I'm going to the police. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to report everything you've just told me. So he came to me and he explained the situation, and he explained why he felt capable and able to talk to me about it because of my past and because of my non-judgmental space. And I was like, yeah, okay. So what is it you want to do? And he had some very basic, very clear goals. Clear goals was he wants to stop the lifestyle he's involved in. He needs to get out of the drug trade. He wants to get out of criminality. He'd like to give up the substances he's involved in. He wants what we have, what recovery is all about. He wants to change his life. It's time now to change his life. That man is no longer involved in criminality, has nothing to do with organised crime, is on a completely abstinence-based recovery, doesn't touch anything, doesn't do anything, is a productive member in society. Where he lives, no one knows that he's anything to do, his past had anything to do with criminality. One or two people that he works with has an idea. But the man is a productive member of society. He's a volunteer. He's got a job, a full-time job. He pays bills. He pays rent. He buys food. He doesn't steal anymore. He's completely changed his life. And for me, that's an inspiration. He never went into a treatment centre. He hasn't had intensive group therapy. He hasn't had intensive one-on-one counselling. He is now seeing a therapist. He is now seeing counselling for trauma from the past. He feels like it's time he can dive into that a bit. He's got himself stable within his life that he feels like he can play with that. So my coaching complements therapy. I by no means a therapist. I would never deal with people's trauma or go down that. Now, I won't shut you down straight away in it, but I won't expand on it and I won't explore it. That's not my space. That's not what I'm about. I don't have the training to go through that and let you leave a session safe. I don't have that training. I wouldn't go in it. So my service complements therapists, psychotherapists. So what he has done blows my mind. And when I'm feeling a bit like, I don't know if this is for me, I think of him, or I'll give him a message, how are you? And he'll tell me something that's happened, a new goal he's hit, something that's crazily happened for him in his life. And I'm like, that's why I'm doing this. Right.
Yeah. What do you think it is about the human condition that we're just always trying to numb ourselves out? I mean, I don't know if it's just, it's people like us where we just get so lost in our own self-destruction. I think about this often. What is it about humans that we seek relief from drugs and alcohol? What is it that is so alluring that we get sucked into that lifestyle or that usage? Like, what do you think?
Don't know, right? I don't know for the human condition as a whole. For my conditioning, what I'll tell people is I don't align fully with the whole model of addiction that it's a disease, like it's a full disease. I'm more of it's a dis-ease. Yes, I was unhappy within myself. My internal being was unhappy. But what I'm going to tell you is, for me, I went through so much. Now this is on reflection. I'm able to pull this apart and pick it apart. I wouldn't have been able to tell you when I was in all the madness. But looking back and going through everything and doing the work within myself, I can tell you that for me, I had so much pain, so much anger, so much hurt, so many different emotions that went around inside me that I couldn't process. I had no idea how to name, how to label, how to deal with, how to let them out, how to expand on them, how to do anything with them. I got frustrated. I got overwhelmed. And I found something that got rid of that straight away. I found something that took all of that away in the blink of an eye. And as a human, I don't want to sit for too long in pain and hurt and anger and emotions. If for the likes of me, at that point in time when I couldn't understand emotion, what it was, to me it just was like, oh, it's that. I don't like this. Yeah. Oh, I'm very uncomfortable here. Take that and you won't feel, that's good. Okay. Right, that works. Okay. And then suddenly like that wears off and I'm like, oh shit, that's even worse now. I'll take two of them. That's me.
Yeah.
Like if I can be taken away from that and not have to work through it, not have to sit in it, I was doing it. By all means, I was doing it. Like if you can take someone's pain away, or if someone can take their own pain away by doing something, by a behavior, by a substance, by alcohol, by anything, it's human nature to do it, is it not? Is it not human nature to walk away from the pain?
Yeah, I found myself it was so easy for me to get lost in alcohol. I mean, it was so readily available. It was just everywhere and I just wanted it all the time. I just was so lost in who I was as a person. I just didn't want to. I mean, at the very end there, when I was drinking right up to the liver transplant, I would feel my liver moving. It was so painful. That's how bad it was getting. And then at that point, I was like, okay, I just don't want to live anymore. It's scary, and it's just it's really hard to even talk about now. But I just got so lost. Can I ask you what's your favorite part of being sober? I love that. I just love hearing
So many,
people's
but my
different
favorite.
answers.
You know what? This is going to be sound after what I've just said. It's really strange that I can say this, but my favorite part is actually being able to feel, because because I did escape from all of those tough feelings for so long. I never learned what they were, how to deal with them, how to process them. And then I got to a place that I had so many substances in my system for such a long period of time. I mean, decades of time. I couldn't feel. I had no proper love, no empathy, no care, no anything for anyone, never mind even myself. Today, this far in, I can feel. I can feel love. I can feel compassion. I can feel care. I can feel empathy. Then I feel pain. Then I feel anger. Then I feel fear. Then I feel frustration. But because I can feel them, I can feel love. Does that make sense? If I
Yeah,
wasn't able to
absolutely.
feel the pain, I wouldn't be able to feel the joy. If I wasn't able to feel the fear, I wouldn't be able to feel the excitement and the nervousness. You know, so I've learned to embrace those difficult emotions, those tough ones. I've learned to embrace them because I know with them, I'm able to be ecstatic about the ones that make me feel good. You know, that's what I love.
Yeah. I noticed on your page that you have a partner. Uh, is she well, can you tell me a little bit about, obviously I know that's a personal question, but it seems like you're pretty open about everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So how much does she play a part in your sobriety in the person that
Huge.
I'm looking at now?
So my partner's in recovery as well. I met my partner when we were both within recovery. My partner is my biggest advocate, my biggest supporter, my biggest encourager, and I will be hers too. And we have an amazing life. We have a life where we can communicate. We have a life where the two of us have this kind of brain that isn't wired like everyone else, right? But within that, we've done so much work on ourselves. We can talk to each other and go, listen, this is what's going on inside my head. All right, okay, yeah, I understand that. I feel like that. Right, let's talk about it. And because we're able to talk about it, because we're able to go to each other with anything, I mean anything at all, nothing festers. There's no resentments. There's no weird, like, oh, I wonder if she's thinking that. Oh, did I do that? Oh, maybe he's thinking that. Oh, there's none of that because it's open. There's conversations. We're very, very open that if you don't conversate within a relationship, it's going to be a difficult relationship.
Yeah.
So our communication is key throughout everything. No matter how we feel, no matter what's going on, we communicate with each other. When we don't want to communicate and we really feel like we just want to isolate, we communicate. We work through that very difficult, uncomfortable place and we communicate. We have what a friend of mine named courageous conversations. Those conversations that you find it almost hard to even get the words out. We have them. We go on holidays together. We do the gym together. We do meditations together. We do full moon ceremonies together. We do new moon ceremonies together. We get involved in any spiritual aspect that we can within life. We get involved in physical activities. We get our emotional activity that we share together is absolutely amazing. Our connection is something I've never felt in my entire life before. The love that we have and that we embrace and that I have for her and that I feel she has for me is a love that I've never in my life had the privilege to feel until I met her and until our paths came together. Yeah. And she's in recovery and she's had her own tough time and her own demons and had to deal with her own stuff, you know, but we're here together. As I tell people, there isn't a single thing that either of us haven't gone through to get to where we are. Between the two of us, we have been through pretty much everything. So she'd be a survivor of child sexual assault and domestic violence. And she is to a point where within her recovery, she's as strong, if not stronger than me. She's an advocate for recovery. She's an advocate for women, for bettering herself. You know, she's continually bettering herself. She's doing courses. She's a PT instructor. She works full-time job while she does courses on the side continuously. So between the two of us, there is not much that we haven't overcome.
Yeah. Your spirits.
100%.
You mentioned physical activity. How much do you think that benefits or sobriety in maintaining that healthy kind of mind frame?
I wouldn't say a crucial part, but it plays a big factor in mine. So for the first 2 years of my sobriety and of my recovery, I was very concentrated and focused on my mind, my subconscious, my programming, my pre-programming, and bettering myself going forward. For this last year of my sobriety, of my recovery, I continually focus on the inner work, my inner child, the healing, things like that. But I've put a greater emphasis on physical activity. I'm 41 now, I'm getting to an age where I feel like I need to make sure I'm healthy enough going forward, that I'm going to be here for a while, and it's an outlet for me. It's an emotional outlet, and it's a physical outlet. And so for the last year, I train 4 to 5 times a week. I'm very much active, involved in it. And I find where I am at the moment in recovery, now this is just my recovery and what I'm up, but where I am now, it plays a large part in it. And together, the two of us, or myself and my partner, we're very active in the gym, and it's a playground for us. We have fun. We work out, we do silly things, we have fun. We're on the bars, we're doing calisthenics together, and we're just having a bit of fun, really.
Wow. So Peter, if you had to give just one piece of advice to someone who's really struggling right now, and they're hearing your story of this wild ride that you've been on that has such a wonderful wonderful chapter that you're on now, what would you say to them?
Don't ever give up on yourself. Don't ever give up on yourself. It's that no matter how far down you think you've gone, no matter how bad it feels right now, no matter what's happened, no matter what you're going through, what you've been through, or what faces you, don't ever give up on yourself. The human mind and the human body is an amazing piece of machinery, and it's capable of so much more than we ever give it credit for. Don't ever give up on yourself. There's always hope.
Beautifully said, Peter. So Peter, where can people find you?
You can find me on my website at www.yourpacerecovery.com. You can find me on Instagram at yourpacerecovery. You can find me on Facebook at yourpacerecovery. I'm not on TikTok anymore. I took myself off for a little while. It got a little different and crazy. So I pulled back from it for a little while.
I'm too old. Too old for
that.
But
you can email me. Email me, Peter at yourpacerecovery.com. Yeah, reach out. If I can do anything for anyone, I will. That's how it is.
That's great. Is there anything else you want to say before you jump?
No, I just want to congratulate you on your recovery, Will, because what you have achieved and what you're achieving on a daily basis is so powerful. I came across a post you put up through Dr. Luchanan, who I follow in that. And
he's great. Yeah,
like unreal. I have his book. I got his book from Amazon. I think it's just amazing. He's a really good guy. And I come across this post and I couldn't believe not only my eyes, but what I was reading. And just keep doing what you're doing, because I promise you now, from the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, you're inspiring people. So keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I really appreciate those very kind words. Well, thank you so much, Peter. This has been just a fantastic conversation. Your story is just so remarkable. From where you were to where you are is just, if that's not a sign of that there is hope out there, everyone, then I don't know what is. So again, thank you so much, Peter, for coming on. Your story is truly unique.
Thank you, Will.
And your journey is inspiring. So I really do appreciate it. Okay.
Cheers, Will. Thank you very much for having me. It's been an honor.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and look out for another episode very soon.